guys, welcome to my channel. Well, welcome back to my channel. So today I am interviewing my sister Tanya and my brother-in-law Chris. So yeah, so they're going to be starting an ADU project. So I have a couple questions so you guys kind of get a background. They are just going to start the building process. So how long have you two been married?
We've been married 2.5 years. It's going to be 3 years come June 2021.
And for those of you that don't know what an ADU is, what is an ADU? And what are the pros and cons of an ADU?
Well, the literal meaning of ADU is a accessible dwelling unit. It's just a secondary unit on the property where people can live. So you can make a single property into a multi-property home. So we were able to, so that's where we're at.
So what are the pros and cons of an ADU as opposed to, I guess, moving out and finding a new like apartment or something else?
Well, living in LA, pro is being able to afford it. A lot of the times when you're going out and you want to buy as opposed to rent, you're finding yourself in a market that you might not be able to compete in. So that was one of our biggest pros. Con is that we're a bit limited as to how much we can build because there are certain restrictions that we have to follow based off the existing property itself.
And whose idea was it?
Actually, funny story, even though she fights it now or she takes it back, it was actually my mom's idea. Her boss is an architect and she actually brought it up to her of, have you guys looked into an ADU restrictions or zoning in your area for an ADU? And then my mom brought up that idea to us, and you didn't have to tell me twice. I did some research with the city, and it turns out we were in a zoning that allowed for us to create an ADU, and here we are.
All right, so what's your budget?
We started with a 100,000.
Okay.
That included architecture, engineering, and building.
And how was the process with obtaining the permits?
It was long and tedious, especially right now during COVID. Originally, it was going fairly smoothly where I can go to one department, drop it off, and that same day drop it off into another department. Then COVID came and I'd have to pick it up, drop it off, pick it up, drop it off, and it was a much longer process. More people waiting, more screening time, etc. So.
And what kind of loan did you guys decide on?
Well, there was actually two types of loans for the two types of loans that were available to us as homeowners. So one of them was a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, and it's just how it sounds. It's basically a credit card, and like a credit card, you can use it, pay it off, use it again, and pay it off. You know, just exactly like a credit card. The second one was just a home equity loan, and that's what we decided to go on. That one is your basic loan. You are approved for a certain amount, and you pay it off like a mortgage. It's a second mortgage added to your already existing mortgage.
The main differences were a variable with a credit loan and a fixed annual percentage rate with a regular home loan. So a couple of things you have to consider.
Are you willing to budge if you go over budget, or are you sticking strictly to the budget even if that means you can't get something you really want?
I mean, I think realistically, we have to be open to going up a little over budget, not too much, obviously, because we don't have that type of money to be spending freely. However, it's construction, and I think one thing, having my dad as a construction worker, one thing you always know is you can plan for one thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to turn out that way. So we have that in the back of our minds. Of course, we don't want to go over budget. Who does? But we're going into this realistically knowing there might be some push and shove at the end.
But we also want to consider that if we're going to go over budget, it's for things that are worth it, not things that are more of a want over a need.
Yeah.
All right. Who is overlooking the project?
Oscar, that's your father. He's our headmaster right now. He's overlooking everything that we're doing, more of our foreman that we got going on. Everything he says goes. So he says, hey, we got to break cement and start throwing it out. And Chris goes right behind him, starts breaking cement and throwing things out. So here we are.
But it's a learning process for you too.
Yeah,
Experience.
and that actually started this weekend.
Yeah, here we are.
There's no cement. I'll show you guys
Oh.
shortly, but there's
Yeah.
no cement where we're at right now, and this will also be part of the construction.
We're actually sitting in what will be a storage unit.
Yeah.
And the camera is where a
Walk-in
walk-in
closet.
will be.
For me and Tony.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Let's see. Was everyone on board when it came to this?
Originally, it seemed like everyone's on board. Once the permits were actually in hand, things seemed a little shaky.
I think it's normal just with anything so big
Yeah.
to get cold feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh no, I knew this was the right thing since the beginning. Obviously you get excited, then it becomes more real, then it becomes really real, and now there's no backing out.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just the fact that there's a lot of us here already, you know, so there's we have to kind of, in a way, cater to everyone just a little bit and keep everyone's likes and dislikes in mind. And I think the more heads there are, the more difficult that becomes, but I think we're really good at seeing the bigger picture as a family.
And it gets a little difficult because, like you mentioned, it's a lot of people, but we also have to consider the house has been invested in, we have invested in, certain cosmetic things. With this construction, we have to make a couple of changes to those, and that hurts a little here and there. So
I think one of the hardest parts right now is seeing,
yeah,
the dirt, and then not only the dirt, but the way we're living right now because of the back, what's it called? Our backyard right now it's a junkyard. Everything that was in our garage is
It's a
now
storage unit.
Yeah, is in our backyard,
Open
and I think
space.
that's kind of hard, to live with because I don't even want to look outside because it's a mess. But I guess at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. So, what are you most anxious, nervous about?
The construction. I mean, this weekend they already started and they cut the cement, and I know it's gonna be hard. I know it's gonna be messy. At some point, we're not even gonna be able to sleep in the rooms we currently have. So it's gonna be like camping for who knows how many months. But at the same time, it's just trying to look at the bigger picture. Just there's light at the end of the tunnel.
My biggest anxiety is that one thing I've learned with your dad is that you can plan for one thing, but there's always something that you don't know, what you're going to encounter. It could be something that you have to, add extra work in to fix, or something that is easy and, comes off with no problem. But anxiety is the unexpected extra work we might have.
Yeah, that makes me really nervous. What are you most excited for?
Having my own space with my husband and my dogs, and being able
Wait, dog.
dogs, and being able to decorate how I see fit. If I want this couch, I'm gonna get this couch, or if I don't want people with shoes in my house, there's not going to be any shoes in my house, or things like that just excite me. It's the little things.
It's a dual decision relationship, so we're both in this to make a decision. I'm most excited about the steam shower.
You guys are gonna have steam shower?
Nobody's agreed to it yet, but
This is what we mean going over budget instead.
that's gonna happen. And the same way we're gonna have whatever couch she wants, we're gonna have whatever steam shower I want, right? It works. Alright.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Has COVID affected the commencement of construction?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's caused delays. Delays and increases of cost. Sometimes labor and mostly materials itself. One of the things you don't realize is that every little thing adds up, and it adds up quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think COVID has definitely. I mean, one thing we were okay with since the beginning is not rushing anything, because if you rush something, things tend to go bad. but it definitely slowed the process, and it gave us time to think and overthink and think and overthink rather than just starting. But we've started.
Did you guys, this isn't a question, but did you guys kind of round out, like make some numbers, come up with some numbers in terms of material, the way materials were before COVID, as opposed to how it is now? Do you know they've changed?
We didn't make material count based off what we need because we didn't have that yet. But you know, on the weekends we do some side jobs with your dad, and we've had to make a fence here and there, and just the wood for a fence itself that's not that big, maybe about 12 feet. It came out to a little under $600 in just materials, and that's wood that will be outdoors.
That's not even
so
labor,
yeah, you're not adding labor and everything else that you're doing. You're not adding the cement and everything else. So,
what are your long-term goals for this ADU?
Long-term goals.
Do you guys plan on staying there?
Well, there's obviously having our own space. Really, there's no rush to get out of it. However, I think going into it, we really saw it as an investment. Because we don't want to stay. This is going to be like an apartment, so we don't see ourselves living in an apartment for all our lives.
especially if kids ever come into play.
Exactly. So I think we see it as an investment. In California, having something that brings you any type of income is a win, But also, his mom lives in Arizona, and she's always in the back of our minds. Our parents are here, and we know that we've helped them the best we can so far. And there's going to be a time and place that we're going to have a point in time that we're going to also have to step up for his mom, and that it kind of gives us a peace of mind that if we find a home, or we're eventually able to afford our own home here in California, we can have her move in here, and we don't have to worry about how far away she is and taking care of her somewhere else, rather than knowing where she's at. She's really close to us.
And I think this is one last question. What's the timeline looking like? How long do you think this will take?
We're told realistically that it's going to be about 8-9 months. We're hoping it works out, but we always know that everything comes out, so we're thinking maybe about a year. But
I just know my dad's there. Is he there? Yeah, he's somewhere there.
Oscar.
So sorry, guys. My dad is somewhere behind the scenes making noise.
Bye, Oscar.
But yeah, so I guess we will bring you guys along this journey, however long it takes. I guess because we don't
Day
know.
one of who knows how long.
Yeah.
Where do we go from? Where do we go from here? No one can save us from keeping clear. I don't wanna lose you, I don't wanna lose you now. 'Cause there is only one thing on my mind. Hey, I just wanna see you on my new grave. Hey, I just wanna see you on my new grave before you turn around and walk away. Hey, I just wanna see you on my new grave. I can do my thing. I can do my thing. track of time, losing track of